Good day and welcome to the II's Increase Your Chances of Passing the CIA Exam webinar. My name is Kelly Quinn and I will be your host for today's broadcast. A few housekeeping notes before we get started. If you experience any technical issues at any point today, please press the F5 key on your PC keyboard or the refresh keys on your Mac to refresh your screen. That will typically resolve most issues. It's also recommended that you close out of any other programs on your computer, such as your email, to ensure that you have the maximum bandwidth to view the program today. If you continue to experience any challenges, please send us a message using the help widget for technical assistance, and we'll work with you in the background. I'd also like to say a special thank you to everybody who submitted questions through our webinar registration form. We received hundreds of questions, which is great, and we will do our best to answer as many as possible at the conclusion of the presentation. Please also feel free to submit any other questions that you may have using the Q&A widget. So with that, I'll cover the agenda. We're going to start off today covering a little bit about the CIA certification program and an overview of the exam. And then next, you'll hear from one of our expert instructors who will cover the exam preparation and how to prepare using the IA study materials for the exam. And then our instructor will also cover some study tips and test-taking tips. We will provide you with some links and resources at the end, including a special discount for everybody on the call today. And we are going to do a drawing for a free IACI exam preparation seminar. And then we'll wrap up with any questions. So with that, I'd like to introduce our presenters today. Mackenzie O'Hara is the II's Certification Project Manager. We're happy to have Mackenzie here today and to share her CIA certification expertise, including some exciting opportunities to become certified and some important changes to be aware of. And then next, we'll hear from Vicki McIntyre. Vicki is the president of First Plus Resolutions and has helped hundreds of CIA candidates successfully pass their CIA exams. She's a globally recognized educator and trainer and is a passionate advocate for the internal audit profession. Vicki has been an IA volunteer for more than 25 years and was recently a member of the II's North American Board of Directors. So with that, I will turn it over to Mackenzie to get us started. Mackenzie?
Thank you, Kelly, and welcome everyone. We are really happy that you're here and interested in potentially earning your CIA. We have a globally strong group of about 185,000 CIAs and growing every day. There's so many benefits to the CIA certification, credibility and respect in your field. There's more opportunities for career advancement based on a study that we did a few years ago, increasing your earning potential by as much as 51%. You know, it proves your willingness to invest in your development and demonstrates commitment to your profession. There's the very obvious to improve upon your skills and knowledge, and then of course, build confidence. When you apply to the CIA program, you will want to know a little bit about the entry and exit requirements as they are different. This information can be found on the IIA's website, just so you know, so you don't have to remember everything that I say here, but you'll have to meet the entry requirements upon the time that you submit your application. And then you have, you've got to take your exams, of course, and then you don't have to complete the exit requirements until you finish your program. So the exit requirement is really just that experience requirement. And the number of years of experience that you need in internal audit is going to depend on your level of education. So I'll give you just a second to kind of take a look at the chart on the screen. And like I said, this can be found on the IIA's website as well. Really quickly, we'll do a little polling question so we can get an idea on the audience. Have you already applied for your CIA certification program? Yes or no? We'll give just a couple seconds here, let everybody answer. And like I said, this will give us a better idea of our audience. Okay. Answers coming in. Looks like we've got about 70% of everyone has answered. Okay. Very good. Here we go. Moving right along. Split right down the middle almost. It is good to have both of the audiences on here, really, and there's good information for everyone involved. I hope that everyone that answered no is well on their way to submitting their application. Okay, so speaking of submitting your application, it is a rather easy process. You'll need to go to CCMS, which stands for Certification Candidate Management System. That's where you'll do every part of your CIA application, registration, etc. You can access CCMS from the IIA's website or go straight to ccms.theiia.org. And what you'll do is you'll create an account. You will say that you want to apply for your CIA, pay your application fee, and then upload a copy of your government issued ID. It says down here that you'll also have to upload your character reference, but we very recently did away with the character reference requirement. So it's just one less step for you. You'll note we've got some different pricing on the screen. I can't recommend membership enough. You take some serious discounts throughout the CIA process, and then pretty significant discounts when you go to do your certification renewal every year as well. All right, so more on the certification process here. Like I said, step one, you want to apply. You need to make that account in CCMS, submit all the documentation, which is really just that photo ID, and then wait for approval. The team is pretty good about it, happens usually within a couple of days. Then you need to begin your studies and take all 3 exam parts. We do utilize a scaled scoring that I won't get too much into, but you need a 600 to pass each exam. And then once you finish all 3 exams, we will verify your experience, which is based on your education level, as I stated before, and you will be a certified CIA. Okay, next polling question here. When are you planning to take your next CIA exam part, which maybe that would be your first part, or if you've already taken 1 or 2 parts, just when do you plan on taking your next exam? This will be an interesting answer because again helps us kind of gauge the content and things like that. Okay, we've got some answers coming in. You guys are very quick. I've already got about 70%. Just wait for a couple more to come through and we will check out the answers. All right, let's see here. Within the next 6 months, that's great news. That is great news, a good goal for the new year. All righty, so there are 3 parts to the CIA, as most of you probably know, and each part covers a little bit of different topic areas. The biggest difference that you'll note is in part 3, you're getting much more of that IT, information security, and business acumen than you are going to get on parts 1 and 2. These syllabi can also be found on the IIA's website, and the topics are listed in more detail. Okay, we are proud, very proud of how many languages the CIA is offered in. We're always exploring the possibility for more languages, but as of right now, the languages that we currently offer are here on the screen. And our third polling question: which of the following certifications do you currently hold, if any? We have CPA and CA if you're in the US or Canada, and then the CISA. Very, very curious about these answers. This will come up a little bit later. We have a slide on it, but this is particularly helpful in terms of the CIA challenge exam, which we'll talk a little bit more about. There is an opportunity to earn your CIA through a one-part exam. Cuts out, a good portion of it, cuts out 2 exams for you, but you do have to hold certain certifications in order to qualify. So we will go with a couple of more seconds for people to submit answers, and then we will move on. Okay, here we go. Alrighty, well then the majority of you are on the right webinar because we spent some time covering the traditional 3-part CIA. But for those of us that do hold one of the certifications listed on the screen, we have a slide that will interest you. Here we go, the CIA challenge exam. As I mentioned, we have 2 different options. We have the challenge exam that is geared towards qualified accounting bodies. So that's going to include the US CPA, the Canadian CA, and many, many others from around the globe, including ACCA. And then the other challenge exam is our CISA challenge exam. You have to hold your CISA designation in order to sit for that exam. Essentially what we do is we compare the syllabi, and we're going to remove any content you've already been tested on, either through your CISA exam or your accounting exams. And then we will test you only on the remaining content. That is how we are able to get it down to a 1-part exam. You have 3 years when you enroll into the challenge exam program, and it's a bundle. It's a great deal. So when you pay, your payment is going to include the application, the exam registration, and the study materials that you need. So it's a custom CIA challenge exam study guide, either for the accountants or for the CISAs. It just depends on which one you apply to, but both include the custom study guide and 1,000 practice questions. You also get access to the standards to help you prepare for the exam. And as always, there is a discount for IIA members. Alrighty, so specifically referring to the accounting challenge exam, like I mentioned, the US CPA counts, the Canadian CA, Chartered Accountant counts, ACCA, ICAI, and many others. If you go to our website, there's an entire list, which I believe this QR code should take you straight there. There's an entire list of the approved accounting bodies. Alrighty, moving right along. There has been a change to the CPE policy. It's now called the Certification Renewal Policy. This change took effect September 1st of this year. Again, lots of information on the website, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of things for you guys. The grace period went from 1 year to 2 years, which is actually a really good thing. In the event that you forget to renew your certification, you do have a 2-year grace period now. Previously, we didn't allow CPE to carry over. Now we do. The one sort of, I guess you could say, scary change is that we used to allow you to reinstate your certification once it was in an expired status. We do not allow that anymore. with the grace period being extended from 1 year to 2 years. If you allow your designation to hit an expired status, it will be revoked and you'll have to take your exams again if you want to earn it back. We did also add a retired status. So people that enter retirement, theirs doesn't necessarily get revoked. They just switch over to a retired status. But like I said, lots more information about that on the website. And most of you don't have to worry about that for a couple of years if you're still in the process of earning your CIA. Okay, another very exciting update from the certifications department. We have just launched CPE quizzes. This is a 10-question quiz that you can take anytime, anywhere, from your phone, from your computer, from work, from home, and you can earn up to 1 CPE per month. It is a non-NASBA CPE credit, and by popular demand, November's CPE quiz is on ethics. So if you need an ethics credit, visit the iia.org/CPE quiz. And if you're an IIA member, you'll get 50% off this month. Okay, last slide from me. If anything I said threw you off, if you need any help during the application process, log into your CCMS account. And if you click on the Help tab, you can open a new case. There is a special team of certifications employees that answer those cases all year. So if you have any questions about the application process or about the status of your certification or about certification renewal or grace status, anything, you can open a case within the Help tab on your CCMS profile, and they will assist you as quickly as they possibly can. I'm now going to turn it over to my colleague, Vicki, to give you some information on studying.
Well, thank you, Mackenzie. That was really good information. I'm very excited about those 10-question quizzes and that opportunity for an additional hour of CPE. So that's awesome. Good information and lots of updates. I appreciate that. So I'm going to share with you some of my tips and tricks and the best information that I have over more than 12 or 15 years of preparing people and helping to educate people on the standards and guidance. So preparing people for their CIA certification exams. Also the application of the standards and guidance in the performance of the internal audit work that we do. So let's have a look at the IIA's CIA learning system. You should know that the learning system aligns the IIA's professional knowledge, training, and certification expertise. It gives you a tool to establish your baseline of understanding of the material so that you can build a personalized study plan. And above all, that is the one critical study tip and test-taking tip, is that you must plan your studies. You must be very strategic in terms of how you're going to spend your time and your energy in preparing for the exam. So the learning system presents all of the topics in the exam syllabi in small little snippets of information, small content segments. The system provides you with direct links to additional IIA guidance. So the position papers, the practice guides, and other supplemental guidance that are going to help you drill down and get a deeper understanding of what is intended by the standards. It's also designed for your mobile devices, and you have the opportunity to study on your own, or you can participate in a virtual instructor-led course, or you might even do a group training if you have perhaps a larger audit activity, or maybe your IIA chapter wants to partner with other chapters and you can have a group of interested CIA candidates. You might have a group training session. So lots of opportunities to prepare yourself for the exams. As far as the self-study approach, this is very good for people who are highly disciplined, who can plan their studies, calendar their study time, commit to a study schedule, and show up for your study appointments and stay on track. For those that don't really need a high level of accountability that's imposed by others or an instructor or a structured timeline that is provided to you, this might be your best approach. The instructor-led courses, again, the IIA has a number of CIA certified instructors who are highly capable of presenting this curriculum, and we have a great track record of success with helping people prepare for success on their exams. You can look at the IIA.org and go into the Learning tab and find various seminars and opportunities for online coursework. I mentioned the group opportunity. You could also have somebody, an instructor-led course live and in person at your place of business, or we have instructors that can do the corporate training in the virtual space as well. Another key takeaway here for groups is that you will get a volume discount on 5 or more CIA learning systems. And if you just know that each individual enrolled in a CIA exam prep course does need to have a specific license for the CIA learning system. So, they can't be shared. It is, like any other intellectual property that requires a specific license. So what are your steps to success? And this is a tried and true approach. First of all, assess. Understand where you are today. Secondly, study, read, do the quizzes and so forth. So study the materials. And then finally, practice exam questions. The learning system gives you a number of different quizzes as well as a final exam. And I'll explain that in a little more detail in a moment. In terms of your assessment and understanding where you are today in terms of your knowledge of the standards and guidance, the IIA CIA learning system has a tool for you where you perform, a number of CIA exam sample questions. So you complete the online pre-test in order to evaluate your strengths and weaknesses and give you the information that you need in order to create your customized study plan. And this is absolutely essential. All of us come with different strengths and weaknesses. Many organizations, are using a combination of Red Book, IIA guidance, as well as Yellow Book, the federal government audit standards. So you need to understand where you are today in terms of your comprehension, your understanding, and your ability to apply the IIA's Red Book standards. Other audit activities may be smaller or less mature, and perhaps they're following some of the standards, but not all of them. So we also need to understand that, the exam syllabi and the topics are oriented around all 52 standards in the Red Book as they are today. Okay? So personalized study plan is critical for your success. The second step then is to study. So you follow your own customized study plan based on the results of that assessment, that pre-test results, or you can work right through the order of the syllabi, the exam topics that are presented in the syllabus. So you can use either approach. You can jump around from topic to topic. A key takeaway, though, is that you must focus on the topics where you score the lowest score on your pretest. I've had students in my classes that enjoy particular topics more than others, who are, very highly capable and competent in particular areas of the standards, and they enjoy, the challenge of answering the questions correctly, but they're not focusing specifically on the toughest topics or the areas where they have lesser experience or lesser familiarity with the standards. You will have the reading materials. You have an option to get printed books if you like, the old school kind of, book in hand textbook. You can read online, or you can download the curriculum to your e-reader device. And each of the topics provides you with a time estimate for your study. And just know that the time estimate is a generality. You may take less time than the time estimate, or it may require more time for you. It depends on your experience and your familiarity with the IAA standards. So again, the topics are presented in small segments in order to maximize your efficiency and your investment in time and studying. If you want more detail, if you want a deeper dive, then you'll have links directly embedded in your reading materials that'll take you out to supplemental IIA guidance and other resources. The CIA Learning System provides you with everything you need to be successful. You don't have to also buy a red book. You don't have to also, have other documents and other guidance. It's all embedded right in the IIA's CIA Learning System. In terms of your study, once you have read the materials and you've digested them and you think that you have a good understanding, then there are thousands of sample quiz questions in the CIA Learning System. This gives you an opportunity to apply what you've learned and test your comprehension. The learning system gives you immediate feedback and the rationale for why the best answer is indeed the best answer, and why the other three options are not the best answer. And this is one of the challenges of the CIA examination. We need to recognize that we're a global profession. Our standards and guidance are applied in all kinds of business and industry and governments, all different cultures, all different regulatory environments. So it is a global profession. We need to be able to analyze an exam question and synthesize information and choose the best answer that is based on our knowledge of the standards and the guidance and internal audit methodology, our risk-based approach, but we need to be able to exercise judgment. Auditors are doing this all the time in the work that we're performing. We need to do this in the context of our organization's strategic plan, the organization's mission, what we know about the control environment and the organization's culture. So exercising judgment is critical in terms of your ability to choose the best answer. You may see 2 correct answers out of your 4 answer options. Your job is to choose the best answer based on the context of the question. So just know that this is one of the challenges with the CIA examination, and this is, this is critical in demonstrating your critical thinking skills and your ability to analyze a question in an audit scenario or a business challenge and come up with the best answer, the best solution. Other study tools are included in the IIA's CIA Learning System. We have flashcards, which this is one of the key tips that I have had in terms of feedback from my students over more than a decade of supporting students in their success, is download the flashcards, be sure that you understand the terminology and the definitions, and then go beyond that and use your ability to recall what you've read in your curriculum, in your textbook. Take what you can recall and jot it down on a good old hard copy of the flashcard. Then circle back and make sure that you have a complete understanding of that terminology and the supporting definition, and then other, key points that support that definition. So great idea to use these flashcards. Also use the online glossary. It's basically, a dictionary of terminology that you must be familiar with. And probably more importantly, you must be familiar with the terminology and the definitions in the context of the internal audit profession and the Red Book standards and guidance, okay? A term in the Red Book may have a slightly different meaning when it is presented in an exam question than that same term might be used in Yellow Book or, the Green Book, other federal government guidance here in the U.S. So just be aware of this. Flashcards and glossary are an excellent study resource for you. Okay, estimated study times. This is one of our most common FAQs, frequently asked questions. How long is it going to take me to study? Here are averages, what you see on the slide. For your Part 1, 40 hours or more. Part 2, 40 hours or more. Part 3, 50 hours or more. For those of you who have a work experience with a larger, more mature audit activity that is following the Red Book standards precisely, you're probably not going to need as much time for your Part 1 and Part 2 exams. For Part 3 exam preparation, if you're recently out of business school or you are out of an MBA program perhaps, you're probably going to have an easier time and you're not going to need quite as much time on your Part 3 exam preparation. However, if you're working in a government audit organization, maybe for an IG's office, or you're working in a nonprofit, or you're working in a smaller organization that doesn't precisely follow the Red Book standards, you need to expect to invest more time in your study to be successful. For me, I'll give you my own little testimonial. When I studied for my CIA examinations, I was already a CPA, a certified public accountant licensed in the state of California. I already had a really broad scope of work experience. I had been a regulatory examiner with California State Banking. I had been a VP finance of a small community bank. I had done, quite a bit of risk work and governance work. I had been involved in compliance. So I had a broad scope of experience. And so I studied for Part 1 and Part 2 together. When McKinsey went through the syllabus topics, you may have picked up on the fact that the Part 1 exam is all about the attribute standards. It's about our independence and objectivity and our proficiency and due professional care. It's about our requirement that we have a charter that delineates our purpose, authority, and responsibility for the audit function. It's about continuous improvement and driving our own business activity to better and better heights and better delivery of performance to the organization and delivery on our value proposition. Also, basics of governance, risk, and control. All of that is in the Part 1 exam. Then the Part 2 examination is all about internal audit methodology. It's how we do the work. It's our risk-based approach to our work. It's how we determine our scope and objectives for our audits. It's how we form our audit work programs. It's how we execute the test steps in those work programs. It's how we draw a risk-based conclusion about the work that we're doing, how we report on the work and then monitor for management's remediation of, higher risk audit issues. So all of that is audit methodology that we're very familiar with. That is the lion's share of the Part 2 exam. So again, if you're working for a very mature audit activity that uses the Red Book standards, you might need lesser time on Part 1 and Part 2. If you have departures from the standards, or if you're using other frameworks or other resources, you might have to study more. As far as Part 3, I mentioned if you're recently out of school, you're going to be used to studying. You're used to taking tests. You're used to analyzing test questions. You're used to managing your time in an examination, situation. For Part 3, if you've worked in an accounting role or you've worked in a finance role, you're probably already very familiar with the 20% of those exam questions that are going to come from the financial management topic of the Part 3 exam. For me, I'm a baby boomer. I was very uncomfortable and very fearful of the IT topics and information security topics. So I spent a lot of time on Part 3. When I studied for Part 3, I studied around 80 or 90 hours, even though I was already a CPA. So I already knew that I could nail the financial management topic, but I don't want to fail. And so I invested the time necessary to familiarize myself with the IT security and information technology topics inside out so that I was successful on my first attempt. And by the way, when I said I studied for Parts 1 and 2 together, I took them both on the same day. I took Part 1 in the morning and Part 2 in the afternoon on the same day. I had studied for about 50 hours for Parts 1 and 2 together, and I was successful on my first attempt. So again, that's just my testimonial. You're going to have to customize your study plan according to your knowledge, your experience, again, your time in the internal audit profession and so forth. We have in the IIA's CIA learning system a practice exam. This practice exam, you see the graphic on the right-hand side of the slide, this looks exactly like what your CIA examination interface will look like when you're in the Pearson VUE Exam Center actually taking the exam. You will see in the upper right-hand corner of the screen which question you are on out of the total questions. So this is a Part 1 exam question. It says question 2 of 125. So we know that that Part 1 exam is 125 questions, and you have 2.5 hours to accomplish those 125 questions. So you will have the time clock ticking away on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, and that's going to allow you to take advantage of your good time management skills, okay? The timed practice exam, again, it exactly has the look and feel of the actual exam experience. In the bottom of the graphic, you see the little blue rectangle with the flag there. This gives you the opportunity to flag questions that you're unsure of. And then at the very end of your examination, you'll have a screen pop up that shows you all of the exam questions that you answered, any that you left unanswered, and any questions that you flagged. And we highly recommend that you consider those questions that you flagged and you circle back and review them. If you're sure that something has been triggered in your mind that helps you to remember the correct answer for that question that you flagged, then go ahead and change your answer. Very often, as you're moving through your exam questions, something in an answer option or something in a subsequent exam question will trigger something in your memory that's going to help you to answer a previous question that you were unsure of the answer. So this is a great feature in the CIA learning system. Here we have a practice question. So we will go ahead and take about 30 or 45 seconds to answer this question. Which of the following fraudulent entries is most likely to be made to conceal the theft of an asset? Give you a few seconds. And I don't recall, Mackenzie or Kelly, are we using a polling question for this?
Candidates may place their answers in the Q&A function. It's not an actual polling question.
Excellent. Thank you, Kelly. Okay, we'll give you about 10 more seconds. Just before I reveal the correct answer, this question does have a fraud orientation, right? And we do have a fraud topic in the CIA learning system. It is the 6th topic in the Part 1 exam prep materials. Here you need to think about a fraud perpetrator and think about also the accounting records and the accounting entry that would be made in order to hide, the theft of an asset, right? So this is touching on a number of areas. It would include the financial management topic in the Part 3 exam, as well as fraud. And you should know that the fraud topic is one of those topics that you might see on any of the exams, okay? You might have a fraud question in the context of proficiency and due professional care that is asking you, what is the audit generalist, what is the expectation around fraud audit skills for an internal audit generalist? And that is specifically pointed out in our standards. So you need to know that. That would be a Part 1 question. You might have a question about audit planning with a fraud orientation. And here you have a question about fraud around a financial management topic, okay? So know that these fraud questions can come on any one of the 3 parts of the exam. So the best answer here is A, alpha, okay? So we would debit an expense account in the general ledger and credit the asset. By doing so, crediting the asset account would eliminate the asset from the books and records of the organization, and it would bury the offsetting side of the entry in an expense account. And the fraud perpetrator who is knowledgeable about accounting would probably put it in an expense account that has a lot of activity so that it is least likely to be discovered, okay? Also, a expense account that has a relatively large balance so that, the entry is not unusual or wouldn't be easily identified as an anomaly or irregularity. Answer B, if we were to debit the asset, that doubles the asset balance. That's not what the fraud perpetrator wants to do. They want to get rid of the asset, okay? So you don't want to double the asset balance. That would be a big red flag so that the fraud would more likely be discovered. Answer C, debiting a revenue account. You should know that revenue accounts carry credit balances. So by debiting a revenue account, this would stick out like a sore thumb. This would be very obvious to any accountant who's doing any kind of analytical review procedures or just scanning the entries, just for kind of an overview of what's going on in the books and records. So debiting revenue is not a good answer. Debiting another asset account, again, that would overstate another asset account. And we know that one of the primary internal controls around accounting activities is to reconcile and tie out the general ledger balances. And particularly for assets and liabilities, we would want to have a detailed analysis of what is sitting in that account balance as of a point in time. So by debiting another asset, we're overstating another asset, which would likely be identified. Okay? So most fraud perpetrators would try to conceal their theft by charging it against an expense account. Study tips. Choose the study method that works best for you. Okay? You know how you study best. Use that study method. Be realistic about the duration of time that you're going to need to prepare for each of the 3 exams. Are you going to do hot and heavy, dedicated study where you're going to cover everything in 3 or 4 weeks and be prepared to sit for your exams after 3 or 4 weeks? Or do you need to stretch it out over 8 or 10 weeks? Be realistic according to your personal life and your personal responsibilities. Don't procrastinate. This is the number 1 tip I will share with you today. You should all be aware that our standards are changing. New standards are going to be published at the very early in 2024. Okay, we've gone through a very lengthy process. They've been vetted through many different groups of stakeholders, academics, regulators, thought leaders in the profession, government agencies. So new standards are coming. The CIA examination will change relative to those new standards sometime after March of 2025. So at this point in time, with holidays coming up, we need to be very realistic about the time it's going to take for us to study and prepare, and you want to get this done by the end of 2024, all 3 parts. That way, if you have a little hiccup and you defer success on one of your exams, you'll still have 3 or 4 months window of opportunity to successfully pass that exam before the exam changes after March of 2025. So don't procrastinate. This is the number 1 reason that my students don't earn their CIA certification. They come away from the classes and they don't set their study plan, or they set a study plan, but they don't show up for their appointments, and life happens. Things get in the way. I would use the approach that this is the very last class that you have to take and be successful in to finally earn your college degree or your graduate degree. And you have to get it done. It's not optional. So take it with that level of dedication and seriousness and commitment to your own career and your career path, and demonstrating your credibility and your expertise as a certified internal auditor. Okay? So don't procrastinate. Set your study plan. Show up for your appointments. I talked about flashcards. Focus on the proficiency areas. These are the areas that take a deeper dive, a deeper level of understanding. They require some analysis. They require some critical thinking skills. They require a higher level of understanding in order to analyze and synthesize information, exercise your judgment, and select the best of the 4 answer options. You need to go beyond memorization. You can't just memorize words and content. You need to be able to understand and apply the standards and the guidance. And this is why it is essential that you take those quizzes and do the tests, okay? There's a very, very specific kind of lingo, language, taxonomy that you've got to be familiar with in analyzing exam questions and selecting the best answers. Prepare for the computer-based test format, and the CIA learning system has that final examination for you that has the exact look and feel of the Pearson VUE exam experience. Pay special attention to the Red Book, the Professional Practices Framework. Write an audit manual table of contents. Could you do that right now just from your recall of your standards and guidance? Could you write a table of contents of an audit manual based on your immediate recall of the IIA standards and guidance and code of ethics? I would like to put that in there too. And then consider your real life experience, but there's a caveat here with your real life examples and experience. You must think broadly, you must think globally, you must think outside of your specific industry experience. You must think very broadly about the application of the standards and guidance. Test taking tips. In terms of time management, read the last sentence with the question mark at the end of the sentence before you read all the details in the question. Understand the question that is being asked, and then anticipate what you believe the correct answer is. Look for that answer in the 4 answer options, and then go back and read the other details prior to the question. Look for the qualifiers. Look for except for. Look for least likely. Look for most likely. Look for most critical. Look for, which of the following is not a consideration in the quality assurance and improvement program, okay? Look for the qualifiers. Again, anticipate your answer before you read the options. I already said, answer broadly and globally. Eliminate the distractors. So use that process of elimination. And it is okay to use your intuition, the gut feel, the educated guess. When all else fails, it's fine, okay? Eliminate the distractors first, those obvious wrong answers, and then select the best answer from your remaining 2. Avoid that analysis paralysis. Trust your first impression. Again, use that flagging mechanism so that you can circle back later. Budget your time. I highly recommend practice 1 minute per question and no more. While you're working through the quizzes, 1 minute per question. Use a stopwatch. Use your time on your phone. 1 minute per question. This is going to help you develop that rhythm of time management so that you are using 1 minute per question, and you will have a built-in buffer of time at the end of your exam questions so you can circle back and have time to revisit those that you flagged. You have 125 questions for part 1. If you're doing 1 minute per question, that's 2 hours and 5 minutes. You'll have a 25-minute buffer of time built in. It's going to help you to eliminate time as an anxiety issue during your examination. So practice time management, 1 minute per question. Be well rested, eat a good meal, be comfortable for your exam. Another practice question, determining engagement objectives have been met is ultimately the responsibility of, what is your best answer? I'll give you just about 20 seconds on this. Okay, I see the answers coming in the chat. It's looking great. Yes, absolutely. Ultimate responsibility for everything in internal audit is the chief audit executive. That's the highest level leader in the audit activity. Okay? So yes, we have a standard around this. The CAE is the business unit manager, ultimately responsible for everything in internal audit. You will see a lot of questions on roles and responsibilities in your Part 1 and Part 2 exams, so be familiar with roles and responsibilities. Kelly, we should have a drawing now. We should have a lucky winner who's going to win an IIA-CIA online seminar.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Vicki, for sharing all that helpful exam preparation info, and to Mackenzie for all the information about the CIA exam and the application process and those CPE changes. So yes, we are going to do a drawing now for one lucky winner. This person will be able to choose an IACI online seminar part of their choice, an instructor-led course. So we're going to do a random drawing, and the winner is Phyllis Carter. So congratulations, Phyllis. We will reach out to you, and you may be able to pick your exam option, your preparation option. I also would like to let everybody know that as a thank you for attending the call today, we are giving you early access to our Black Friday Cyber Monday sale. So you are able to access starting today through November 17th and receive 25% off the IACI Learning System materials. You may order online at learnci.com, and in the apply discount code field, you'll want to enter the discount code WebSave25. That will apply to full kits and single parts, and it will be on top of any membership discounts that you may receive. So this is our biggest sale of the year, our lowest discount we offer. So we encourage you to take advantage of it from now until November 17th. We'll also send a follow-up email out to everybody with this discount code too, so you can watch for that. Just so you're aware of the prices, these are the discounts available with that 25% off. You may purchase by individual part or what we call a full kit, which is parts 1 through 3. That's the price there for the online only with the member, non-member pricing. And then if you wish to add on printed books, there's just a small additional fee. Also had a number of questions come in about the exam preparation instructor-led courses. We have a variety of those around the world, both in person and online. And you may go to learnci.com and click on course listings there, and you'll find a list of all of those available. I know we're just at the end of our time here, and if we didn't get to many questions today, but we will try our best to follow up with anybody we haven't been responding to in the chat. Again, that webinar discount's listed there for you at learnci.com. If you do have a team or a small group of individuals who would like to purchase together, there are additional discounts available for groups. My colleague Mike Downs is able to help with that. His email is listed here. And then once you earn your CI certification, which I'm confident you'll do, just make sure to maintain that certification and earn your CPEs every year. So you need 40 if you're a practicing CIA or 20 if you're a non-practicing CIA. We are going to post a recording of this webinar. Just give us a couple of days, but that's going to be available at learnci.com. If you go under free tools, you'll find all sorts of free tools such as free practice questions and demos and things like that. That's also where we post archives of our webinars. So that will be posted within a couple of days. If you want to rewatch this or gain access to the slides, please feel free to go there. So with that, we are at the conclusion of today's broadcast. Many thanks to our presenters today for a great program. We're going to display today's post-event survey to you. If you aren't able to see the survey, please go to the resources tab where you can locate the survey link. And thank you again, everyone. We hope you have a wonderful day.